If you are not in those local services ads, you are cutting your leads.
The real battle today is happening inside Google Maps and the local pack.
Google is stealing the leads, basically, because they want you to pay to get the clicks and the leads now.
Darren has spent nearly 2 decades studying how Google actually ranks local businesses.
People think that'll help you improve your rankings. It doesn't.
In this conversation, we break down what actually drives local visibility for contractors today.
Google is still king, and Google will continue to be king.
This is AI and Marketing for Home Service Pros, the show for contractors who want to grow without wasting time or money. If you're in roofing, HVAC, plumbing, or any home service business, we break down how AI and modern marketing can help you book more jobs, close more leads, and build a business that runs without babysitting every task.
Most contractors think SEO means ranking their site, but if you're a local service business, that's only half the story. The real battle today is happening inside Google Maps and the local pack. My guest today is Darren Shaw, founder of WhiteSpark and one of the most respected experts in local search. Darren has spent nearly 2 decades studying how Google actually ranks local businesses and publishes one of the most trusted reports in the industry on local ranking factors. In this conversation, we break down what actually drives local visibility for contractors today. We talk about why local SEO has become more important than traditional SEO, how Google business profile categories can make or break your rankings, and why something as simple as review velocity can dramatically impact whether your company shows up in the map pack. We also get into some tactical strategies, including why most contractors choose the wrong primary category, how multiple office locations can help dominate a metro area, why reviews are still one of the most important ranking signals, how to get higher quality reviews that actually help your rankings, and how AI search and Google's AI overviews are starting to change the game for local businesses. If you rely on Google for leads, and most contractors do, this episode will give you a much clearer understanding of what actually moves the needle. Let's get into it. What's up, guys? This is Mauricio Cardona. I'm the host today of the AI marketing show for Home Service Pros. I'm super excited to have Darren Shaw. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. Excited to be here and talk about local SEO, my favorite topic.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you. We had a great conversation a few weeks ago and talked about all different things. You released a really good report, which I'll get into, about local SEO. I think that people should check out. And I'll have that link in the description. But on a high level, right, for contractors that are listening, how does local SEO actually work?
Yeah, so with traditional SEO, you're ranking your website. And that's typically like the content on your website, the way you've optimized it, plus links going to your website. Local SEO, you still have to do all that, but there's an extension to it, which is you're actually ranking your Google business profile in the local results. And so if you see a local pack, you type in like Contractors Denver, you're going to get a local pack with 3 results and the map. So local SEO is really focused on how do I get my business ranking in that local pack or ranking in Google Maps. And so your website does play a role, but you also need to be thinking about things like how have you optimized your Google business profile, your review strategy, or getting lots of reviews. They play a huge role in how well you rank in local results. Citations, like your mentions around the internet. So those things it's almost like regular SEO is your website and links to your website, and local SEO is even more work because you got to still do that. Plus, you got to do the Google business profile reviews and citations.
I've been working with contractors and local business for close to 9 years, and my experience and my opinion now, I don't know if you have the same opinion, local SEO the last few years has become actually more important than traditional SEO, especially with local lead gen.
100%. And this is because of 2 huge things. Certainly the AI overviews are taking informational queries. So prior, you might have like, you want to rank for a specific term and your website would show up in the blue links, right? On Google. But now the ads are pushing that down. The AI overviews are pushing that down. The local pack is pushing that down. So, but by the time you get to the blue links, nobody's even scrolling that far because Google is just like putting so many ads and AI overviews and stuff in the results. So traditional SEO becomes less valuable because of such reduced visibility. But local SEO is still prominent. A lot of keywords, the local pack is right at the very top of the results. So that's where you want to be if you want to drive leads from search. So the local SEO is still alive and kicking and very important. And as you say, more important today than it was before.
You work with a lot of local businesses, and your estimation about with a local business, like let's say if you work with a plumber, I'm sure you work with plumbers and local businesses. What percentage of the leads I'm talking about just for SEO are coming from the map pack, the local S side versus the actual like website? Like, what do you think? How do you break that down?
Yeah, I would say, I'm just throwing numbers out here. It really depends significantly on whether or not that industry and those queries have what are called local services ads. If there are local services ads, then I'm going to say 50% of the leads are coming from the local services ads, 40 from the local pack, and 10 from the organics. If there are no local service ads, then I would then give most of it to the local pack. So if you are in the local pack, you're going to drive like a good 70% of your leads from local results, and then the remaining 30. And we're only talking about search. Obviously businesses are doing all kinds of other marketing, but just in terms of search marketing, that would be how I would estimate the share of value from the different placements on the search.
Now, I would kind of rank it similar to that. And with the categories have changed, I think there's like my estimation. I don't know if I'm correct me if I'm wrong. There's about 80 categories in LSAs. Is that accurate? I don't know if you know that off the top of your head.
I don't know off the top of my head. We don't do LSAs for our clients, although we are developing our own service because it becomes such a valuable piece of real estate on the search results. So we are working on launching our local service ad service, but I don't know exactly what number of categories. And then it's not all cities either.
So, and obviously what that means, if you guys are listening, is that with local SEO, local LSA, there's about, 60 to 80 categories. And the most common categories are the ones you've heard of: roofing, plumbing, HVAC, AC, all those different categories. Even lawyers and real estate are in there. So what that means is that if you're in that category, as Dan was saying, is that local SEO is probably the bigger component than traditional. It's much more bigger component, what we're saying, compared to just regular SEO. So you guys are listening in those categories, which applies to most of you guys. You're going to be affected to what he just said.
Yeah, we do find, like specifically in legal with some of our law firm clients, if you are not in those local services ads, you are cutting your leads. Google is stealing the leads basically because they want you to pay to get the clicks and the leads now. So local services ads really are critical. In legal, they pay themselves. They have a great return on investment because you might pay $400 for the lead, but the case is worth $10,000, and that's not necessarily true in home services. But of course, the cost of the leads would be much lower too. The cost of the leads in home services is typically like $40 to $60 per lead, which then if it turns into a job, you can justify, right? Depending on the size of the job. So let's say it was like a roofer paid $50 for a lead from local services ad and turned into a full roof replacement for $20K. Well, there you go. Well worth it, right? And so Google's kind of forcing us to play the game where we have to pay for the leads these days.
What do you think is the biggest misconception when it comes to local SEO, Google Maps, for contractors that are trying to rank? What do you think is the biggest that you've seen, that you've talked to after talking about all these clients?
Biggest misconception. Well, a lot of people chase local search myths. So you mentioned my report earlier. We have the local search ranking factors survey that goes out every year. And that's a survey of the very best minds in local search. And so we get them to score what are potential signals that Google is using to rank businesses in the local results. And so the things that are scored very low are basically local search myths. They do not actually impact rankings. And this would be things like keywords in your Google business profile description. People think that that'll help you improve your rankings. It doesn't. Geotagging images is a classic one. You might hear people talk about that. Some of this BS stuff like Google stacking, some of these like weird fringy, like people talk about these SEO things. And so I would say people think that helps rankings and it doesn't. And there's another really big one, which is kind of in the last couple of years, the local search professionals have realized review count is not as valuable as you might have thought it was. So you would look at the search results and be like, well, that guy's beating me because he has 2,000 reviews and I only have 800 reviews. You might think something like that, right? One of the misconceptions is that it's the count that matters. because it's not. It's actually the recency that matters. So review recency is very critical. When was the last time you got a review? Are you getting reviews on a frequent basis? Are you getting like 2, 3 per month? Because if you only have, let's say, 100 reviews and most of your competitors have 400, but you're getting them every single day and you're getting like 5 per week, and your competitors are getting 1 every couple months and that's it, you will actually outpace them. Google uses that as a signal of interest in the business, activity in the business. It's a really critical signal. And so it's a huge misconception is that everything comes down to number of reviews. It's not that. It's how many reviews that you're getting. So I would say that's one of the biggest ones.
Yeah, I think that's something that recently changed, right, in the last couple of years that I saw that really impacted rankings. What do you think about? Because there's a lot of, I get this question a lot, and I always advise against it. But there's a lot of services that provide fake reviews. How good is Google at catching those services? And obviously, like, what would you recommend against it? Probably, right?
Yeah, it's actually a really tough one because Google's not great at it.
Oh, really?
Google's not very good at identifying and removing fake reviews. You hear a lot about it. Like, I lost 100 reviews overnight because they do these sweeps, but it's a huge problem. A lot of the reviews on Google are fake and people are buying them and they're getting away with it. So it's quite annoying. So a lot of contractors are in this position, like, if you can't beat them, join them, right? And so then they start thinking about this. The trouble is that you are definitely rolling the dice a little bit with risk. It's awkward to talk about this because really, what is the risk? The risk is they'll remove the reviews. And in the short term, before they were removed, it helped you to drive more leads. So Google is not doing a good job of this, and they need to do a better job because they have such a huge impact on your ranking. And if you are doing local services ads, it is, in my opinion, the most powerful thing you can do is review recency for local services ads visibility. The fake review problem is incentivized by Google. And they've created a system where you want to have 500 reviews. Like, you're a brand new contractor, you just started your business 3 months ago, you're not going to have like hundreds of reviews. You're not going to have them coming in on a regular basis because you're just starting. You don't even have that many clients to get reviews from. So they've really incentivized the fake reviews thing. It is slightly dangerous. You could get your Google business profile suspended. I'm not here to tell you to go and do fake reviews, but I'm just giving you the facts.
Interesting. I always thought that you risk getting suspended. So I guess
you do. Yeah, true. There is a remote risk that you might.
I've seen it. I've seen a lot of contractors do it, and I've seen a lot of where they get a temporary boost. But I always advise against it.
It's not good advice to say, yeah, get some fake reviews. Certainly not. But I certainly also understand why people are like, yeah, well, maybe I'll do it.
Yeah. Well, that's something good to know. I mean, my opinion, obviously, like, just do it the right way, and it takes a little bit of time to do it. But
that is my recommendation too. And I will give you one tip. How can you increase your review volume? You don't have to complete the job to ask for a review. Any interaction with your business qualifies for a review on Google. Oh, someone called you. Hey, will you come and repair one shingle on my roof? Well, no, we're not going to come out for that rinky-dink job. But since I have you here, let me walk you through the process. I'm going to make it so easy for you. I also have an article on my website. I'm going to email you. I'm going to help you out. And if you found this helpful, we'd really appreciate your review. So you've had this interaction with the customer. You have delivered value. They didn't become an actual customer, but that is a legitimate review you could ask for and get on your Google business profile.
On your rankings report, you said that this is common knowledge, but if people listening don't know that the primary category, business category, is the most important ranking factor. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so your primary category is the #1 highest rated local search ranking factor by the 40 plus Google business profile and local search experts that contributed to the survey. They all say primary category, it's the #1 thing. So what does that mean? In the world of contractors, if your primary category is HVAC contractor, you have made a terrible mistake. That's what it means. Your primary category should closely reflect the most valuable keywords you want to rank for. And so that would be furnace repair, or possibly if you're you're in southern states, it might be air conditioning repair or air conditioning service. You want your primary category to be the number one most valuable search term. Like you're trying to as closely match it to what people are typing into the search results. Law firms is a really classic one. So if your primary category is law firm, you have made a terrible mistake. Your primary category should be criminal defense attorney. It should be personal injury lawyer. Whatever it is that you're ranking for, you want to rank for. And I would say 80% of businesses probably picked a primary category that did most accurately reflect what they do, but just go and look at it now and make sure that you haven't done something like a broad one. Focus in that primary category, pick one that is the best match with the most valuable keywords you want to rank for.
Yeah, and I've seen in contractors, they pick general contractor because
Don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Pick whatever it is. What type of contractor are you? Make that your primary category.
When it comes to multi-trade contractors, we work with home service companies like HVAC companies, etc. So HVAC can be related to HVAC, plumbing, and electrical. These guys, it's a little bit tricky situation because they do multiple trades. What do you recommend in that strategy? Because it's a three-step strategy. It wouldn't be just one because you can recommend additional profiles, but how do you address it? For example, if I'm a contractor doing, I say 10 million in services, but I have 3 services, I say 70% of it is HVAC, the other 30% is plumbing, but I have one profile that has a ton of reviews. Like what do you recommend the strategy for that? For that?
Let's say your business name is Acme Brothers. That's your business name. And you have selected a primary category of HVAC contractor. You are doing yourself no favors. If your business name is Acme Brothers and you have selected, plumbing company, plumbers, as your primary category, then you're going to rank for plumbers. Google is like, this is a plumbing company. Now, how do you overcome that? You have to pick one. You do plumbing, you do HVAC, and you do electrical. You have to pick one primary category. So you're going to pick that. Whatever is the most valuable to your business, whatever is your prime specialty. How do you overcome? Okay, so let's say it's plumbing. It's Acme Brothers. They mostly do plumbing, but they also do some HVAC and electrical. How do you overcome that? Keywords in the business name. That's the way to overcome it because those two pieces of the puzzle work together. Google is like, well, it's Acme Brothers. We don't really know what they are by their name, but they have plumbing as their primary category. Now, let's say you change your business name to Acme Brothers, plumbing, furnace repair, and electrical. Now Google has this strong signal that you do those things. And then of course you have the additional categories that you can use. But the business name isn't the number 2 most important ranking factor. So this is the way you can overcome it. And so if your name is Acme Brothers, go and change your business name. And it's a job. You can't just go and change it on Google and thumbs up. You have to actually do a real business name change. So that means registering a DBA, doing business as name with the Secretary of State, changing your signage, changing your logos on your truck, changing your website, and changing your citations around the internet, anywhere like your Facebook page, your Better Business Bureau page, your Yellow Pages listing, your Yelp listing, your Trusted Pros listing. Make sure that those match the business name and do all of that work before you change your Google business profile. Because if you change your Google business profile first, Google will be like, this doesn't check out, suspended or rejected. So you have to make sure that you've built the foundation before you change your Google business profile. That's the way to get around it.
Yeah, it's a pain in the ass, but you have to do it, right?
It's so worthwhile though. It's a pain in the ass that will pay massive dividends. It's like a one-time bit of pain for a lifetime of glory because it'll actually pay you dividends. Now you are present in those search results. Now you are driving leads from the local pack that you weren't before.
Yeah, exactly. So, and that's the thing you have to think about, guys. If you're thinking about selling additional services, I work with a lot of, I think, for example, roofing companies, and their primary business is roofing, but they want to sell siding as well.
Sure.
You have to just think about it. It just takes thinking, honestly, thinking about what you want to be the next 5 years, because if we change the name, and this is a big impact because it does impact everything you do in terms of the local SEO, because you're going to be, what you said, it's citations, the brand, the website, the actual van, if you do a track, the trucking, they have the actual vehicle wraps. It's a big thing. So you have to really think about what it's going to look like if you really want to sell those additional services. And in the home services space, especially guys that are doing HVAC and plumbing and electrical, they are doing those three things like continuously, right? So just think about that.
I'm going to give some a different advice here as well. It's like an additional tip based on the roofing and siding example. So we help our clients with this kind of stuff all the time. We'll help them rebrand. We'll help them create new Google business profiles. And that's what I would suggest in that case. If you are a roofer and you also want to do siding, it's hard to do both. I would suggest a dedicated Google business profile for the siding side of the business. Maybe even register a different company and process your stuff through that extra company. But if you can have a dedicated Google business profile, Acme Brothers Siding Denver, that's a great business name. And then your primary category is siding company. Everything on your Google business profile talks about siding. You build a whole new round of citations that are all talking about sidings. And ideally, you'll even make a new website. You can spin up an AI generated website pretty quick these days. So you build a new website that is specifically about siding. Now you're going to have a dedicated phone number. You can't use the same phone number as your roofing business. And you can actually put them at the same address. Ideally, I wouldn't suggest that. I would suggest a different address. And you can do what's called a sublease. So rather than getting a real office and spending $5,000 a month on it, you would get a sublease, which is a room in someone else's office that they will sublease to you. And that's more in like the $400 a month range. And so that would totally pay dividends if you want to break into the siding business, because Google already knows you as a roofer. You've spent the last 10 years doing roofing. Google's like, this is definitely a roofing company. Oh, siding, they also do that? Well, okay, good. I'm glad you also do siding. But if someone's looking for a siding company in Denver, I'm not going to show your business because you're a roofer. I'm going to show these 20 businesses that are dedicated siding businesses that have been doing siding for 20 years. How do you compete with those guys? The only way is really to create a whole new business specifically on siding, and now you can start breaking in. But if you're just trying to break it in with you got one page on your website and you add an additional category to your roofing focused Google business profile, you're going to have a hard time. So that's why I would say for very kind of specifically focused sub industries, your best bet is to just kind of start a whole new arm of the business.
Let's talk about the difference between having a physical location versus a service area location. I heard you in a podcast before. My experience is that having a physical location impacts the rankings. Can you talk about that? Why it's happening now versus a few years ago? Why that changed?
Yeah. What happens when you have a physical location is you have a very dedicated pin on the map. And so Google will base your rankings around like a 10-mile area, depending on how competitive your niche is, around a 10-mile radius around that spot on the map, which is your physical location. So you can attract leads from in that. So you should just know, as far as local search goes, it's almost impossible to rank around a whole city. You're mostly just going to rank around your address. You're not going to rank in the north end if you're a south side business. That in the local pack anyways. And so if you remove your address and you are now a service area business, let's say you registered your business at a home address, you don't want it showing on Google, that certainly does seem to have a negative impact on your ability to rank. Why does Google do that? It's still actually a bit of a local search mystery. We're trying to figure it out. I'll tell you this much. I have seen many cases where a business changed from a physical address to a non-showing address and nothing negative happened to the rankings. But I've also seen they changed and they disappeared. They no longer rank at all. And part of the mystery is there are some explanations, but there are other cases where these explanations don't apply. One case is, let's say you originally registered your business in Aurora, Colorado, back in 2007. You made your business in Aurora, Colorado, because that's where you lived and it was a home address. And then you were like, I'm going to get smart. I'm going to move my business to a physical office, actually get signage. We actually have a real place. We've grown in Denver proper. So now you've got a Denver proper location. And so you eventually changed your Google business profile to have that address. You moved your address. Now you got suspended, whatever happened, and Google said you must hide your address. So you hide it and you disappear from the Denver rankings. What happened? Well, now you're actually ranking back in Aurora. Google will use the address that you used to verify the profile, and they'll put you back there. So I've seen that happen where rankings disappeared, but they didn't actually disappear. They just moved back to where it was originally verified. The other case is very interesting, which is sometimes when you hide an address or remove an address from a Google business profile, Google no longer places you where you were, so you no longer rank where you thought you were ranking, or where you were ranking, and they just put you willy-nilly somewhere on the map. We don't know. It's like a bug. I don't know what's happening, but I had this one case where this guy, he was a car detailing service, and once he removed his address, Google put him 200 miles north into the middle of the desert. And I was like, did you ever have anything there? Did your business have any connection to that area of the country? He's like, nope, nothing. And so like, sometimes Google just goes wacky and we don't understand what it is. I think it's some kind of bug. And so the advice is to avoid the weirdness. It's better to have your address showing on the map, but there are cases where you could remove the address and it doesn't necessarily hurt. It's just a weird thing.
What about if you don't have an office, a physical office? Do you recommend home? Like, what's your opinion on the virtual offices? What's your opinion on that strategy? I'll talk about that.
Yeah, it is better to have an address showing. If it's a home, Google's not likely to approve your verification for a address showing listing. So if you want your address showing, you should get a real office. So, okay, what are your options? You got the P.O. box, straight out of Google's guidelines, not approved. A virtual office, also in Google's guidelines, cannot use. So you can probably get away with it. You'll see a lot of businesses that are ranking with a virtual office, but it is breaking the guidelines and you have a target on your back and you might end up getting suspended. So I don't love that. I wouldn't do it. The third one, as we go from like least to worst to best, is co-working spaces. You'd be like, oh, okay, well, it's not a virtual office, it's a co-working space, a WeWork or something. Also not awesome. It's not specifically in the guidelines, but we know that Google's aware of them and they are very suspicious of a co-working space address. And so then the next on the list would be what I already talked about, the sublease. That's a great way to do it, but you need signage. You need signage on the outside of the building. You need signage on the door going into the main office. It'd be like, you know, let's say the office was for some electrician's company, but you also put your name on the same door, which is, you know, Acme Brothers Plumbing, and then you are both sharing that office. That's fine. Google's like, okay, companies share offices. That's totally cool. And so now you have your signage on the outside of the main office when you go in, and then inside you should have your signage on a door within there. So now you've got a legit office. And then of course the very best is to actually just have your own proper lease and you have your own office. So that's the way I would suggest it to do it. Don't do the first three. Sublease is probably the best bet.
If you want to have multiple locations in a single metro, like how far do you recommend for the offices, for the physical locations to be?
If they are verified with signage and staffed during business hours, they could be across the street. Google's fine with that. Look at Starbucks, right? So you could definitely do it. It's a model that Google understands. For a contractor, if they are two service area businesses, there is the massive suspension risk of overlapping service areas. You got business number one on the north side, location number one on the north side of the business, Acme Brothers Plumbing. You got location number two on the south side of the business, Acme Brothers Plumbing, south side. And if they both say that the service area is Denver, they overlap, that's a huge suspension risk. So you could carve out zip codes and say those on your Google business profiles, and then you've mitigated that risk. They could be close, but if you're showing so that's for SABs, but also you can get nailed with this even if they're hybrids. So a hybrid business is you're showing your address, but you're also defining a service area, which a lot of contractors are that. That's where you can actually get nailed with the suspension risk. Overlapping service areas is something to be very aware of and careful about if you have multiple locations that are close-ish to each other. But I would say it's a legitimate situation where an SAB could have 4 physical address showing locations in a city. They're covering multiple areas of the city. It is doable, and it is technically within Google's guidelines, as long as those offices are fully signed and they say, staffed during opening hours, which that's a kind of easy one to get around. They don't come and check.
Yeah, if you're, for example, if you're a plumber and you want to get more market share in a metro like, for example, Miami.
Yeah.
And you have one location, one physical location. What would you recommend? Here's what I tell my clients if I do this. I recommend exactly what you just said. Get an actual closet, right? A sublease in another location. Like I'm talking about the same metro, and whatever area. I mean, do the research beforehand in terms of like what areas you would look at in terms of the work that you're doing, right? For example, if you don't, I don't know if you know Miami, but Miami, say I have an office in Doral and then another office in Kendall, which is, one is north and south. A lot of contractors I work with, they don't kind of see the valuable strategy behind that. Talk to me why is that's such an important way to really grow your business and really get more leads.
Yeah, I would share my screen. This is the thing. This is the mental leap that contractors need to make. And I mentioned it earlier. You're not going to rank the whole city. And another thing that everyone needs to know is that in Google, you can specify service areas, right? You can say, I service all of Miami. Google won't rank you in all of Miami. They still only rank you. Doesn't matter what you specify. I service this zip code and that zip code, and you're saying all these places that you service. You can say whatever you want in the service areas. You will not rank there. Google doesn't use the service areas that you set on your Google business profile as a ranking signal. The only thing that they use that for is drawing a red outline on the map about where you're willing to travel to. And then it also shows up on the knowledge panel and says, serving these areas. That's all it does. It's like display purposes only. So if you want to rank far away from where you are, you must have a new location. And that's because, and if I could share my screen, I would show you, we have software called Whitespark Local Ranking Grids, and it'll show you that exact thing, this radius of how far do you rank. So it puts all of your rankings on a grid. And so let's say you made a grid rank of all of Miami and your business is on the south side, you will see that you rank good around your area, but like nothing outside of that. And so that's just the way local search works. Google wants to show results to show you businesses that are close to you. So even if I'm looking for a plumber and I type into the Google plumbers, I just type plumbers. I get a list. That list is going to be businesses that are within roughly 5 to 10 miles from me. And so if I want to rank outside of that, I have to have another location.
Exactly. You want to see a company that's doing well at scale. A company I was talking about, I'm going to do a video on, is A1 Garage, Tommy Meadows' company. I don't know if you heard of them before. Just to give you an example, guys, if you're listening, they have in the Phoenix metro area. I looked at it today. They have 15 locations in the Phoenix metro area. Now I don't know if they're all of them are physical location. I'm not sure, but on Google Maps, they have 15 locations that are verified.
Yeah, and so they probably are actually opening up these subleases. Otherwise, you're going to have a hard time verifying them because Google's forcing video verification now. Actually, there's this huge problem that Google was trying to solve where people would just get the postcard mailed to a parking lot and then they would verify the businesses, right? And so they would set all these Google business profiles. Now they're forcing video verification. So if you want to get through a video verification, you kind of have to make a real office with signage, and then you can actually get the Google Business Profile signed up. So chances are good that that's exactly what A1 Garage is doing.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what they're doing. And guys, if you're listening to this, it's important. I'm not the one who's saying it. This is to Darren. He's been doing this for 20 years, I think. And just an example, like if I had a business myself, if I had a plumbing company and run out exactly what I'd follow that exact blueprint, I would say, and I would spend the extra if it's cost like $500 a month or $700 a month, whatever it is. I don't know what it is for doing the sublease.
Few jobs you paid for it, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, and it's definitely worth it because long term, this is a huge valuable asset. It's like a piece of real estate that you're building to your business that will generate a ton of leads.
It is the strategy. Unfortunately, this is another case. It's like I talked about reviews, right? Google's kind of forcing our hand. and forcing people to be like, well, if you're going to make reviews so valuable, how am I going to get them? And it does incentivize the fake review situation. This Google's model incentivizes the fake location situation, right? Even if they're not real locations, if you went and knocked on the door, nobody would be there. You know, Google's not knocking on doors. They can't go and knock on all the doors. So that's really, I feel like I'm teaching everyone how to spam Google here.
Yeah, yeah. And things have gotten more difficult because before it was just a PO box and a mail verification, and you would just get a new location. Now it's like address and video verification, so it's gotten a little bit more complicated. Google's kind of cracked down, but at the end of the day, it's just an extra layer. You just have to, like, it's just frustrating to me because a lot of times we tell them what to do, and it's not that hard to apply, but they don't do it.
Yeah. Don't hate the player, hate the game. So that's what they say.
Yeah. So let's talk about reviews. Not obviously the important. Everybody knows the importance of reviews. I want to talk about more of the velocity of reviews. Can Google suspend you if you have too many reviews in one day, or how does that work? Because I want to confuse myself. How does that work typically?
Yeah, actually, there was a really great update just, I don't know, 3 weeks ago. Google specifically put it into their guidelines. They just added new language to their review guidelines, outlining some of the things that they look for review, suspicious reviews. Velocity is one of them. If you get a massive influx of reviews in one day, that is one of the signals that might potentially get your reviews removed. The other one is all reviews coming from the same IP kind of thing. So let's say your location had a kiosk that you were like, hey, everybody leave us a review, and they're all coming from the same kind of location. That's another signal that Google will pick up on. And then, of course, they're looking for incentives, right? So like, I'll give you $5 or give you a $5 gift card or a discount off your order if you leave us a review. Those are all things you have to be careful about, and I would not do. But velocity is definitely one that they do. And I've seen this before where it's kind of a smart tactic where a business will set up like at some kind of big community event where there's multiple kind of tents set up there, and they've got like prizes, and it's just like a community involvement event. And then they got the little sign with the QR code that says, leave us a review on Google. And so then they start getting all these reviews to their Google business profile. Be like, I saw the tent at the Glenora Community League get together, and I had a great time chatting with Bob's roofing company, and I won a stuffy, like whatever it is. That you'll get these weird reviews, but they're all coming from this like event, right? So this is the kind of thing that Google's trying to crack down a little bit on and see if they can reduce these tactics.
What about in terms of the quality review? Like it's more valuable to have a kind of what do you recommend if you want to get the best review possible, instead of having a regular 5-star review with nothing on there, which is not the best, but it's okay, or just having a long lengthy review? What would you recommend if you have a customer leaving in the review? What things would it include?
Yeah, so when asking for reviews, it's good to not just say, would you leave us a review, and leave it at that. It's good to say, like, it's kind of a multi-step process. Would you leave us a review? Yeah, sure, I'll leave you a review. Great. Would you mind describing a little bit about the service you had, what the experience was like working with us, the customer service, the results from the work? Just if you kind of prime them a bit, then they come into that review ready to write something a bit more verbose. Otherwise, they'll be like, yeah, I'll leave you a review. And then you send them the link and they're like, it was great. Submit. Like, you kind of want to squeeze out of them some information. And you can incentivize that too. When you say, be like, it would really help us if you described the service that you had and the experience you had with us and the results you got. When you take that extra effort with your review request, you're going to get way better reviews. And the content in those reviews does actually help you rank. So if someone is searching for a very specific things, like let's say metal roofing, your company specializes in metal roofs. And so you'd be like, oh, and make sure you say that we put this metal roof on. That's our specialty. And we love to show our other, new people that are looking at our profile that we're good at metal roofing. Because when they mention it now, when someone goes to Google and type in like metal, roofer for metal roofs, Miami, then you're much more likely to come up because dozens of your reviews say metal roofs. So there is great value in getting high quality reviews, and that's how you can incentivize them.
And how about images? Do you recommend having images? Do you recommend even maybe taking pictures of the actual customers?
I mean, you just answered your own question. Yes, I love that strategy. So, and then the best way to get it is when you send a request for the review, be like, oh, and I've attached a few images that I took of your roof. It'd be great if you included those when you leave your review. 100% majorly excellent strategy. I love it.
Do you have does I don't know if Whitespark do they have like a review automation platform
We
within
do, yeah. It's
Whitespark?
called Reputation Builder, and it's software that will automate your review requests, and it's all very customizable, excellent for reporting, tracking, managing your reviews. Yep.
And we have a link in the description so you guys can check it out. But basically, the idea is to make it very simple for your customers to leave reviews, right? That's kind of the whole idea behind it. Instead of doing it a manual process, you have software that makes it super simple.
Yeah, and it can be. We can connect the software to your CRM, like whatever you use for your project management. Whenever the case is complete, whenever a project is complete, that could then trigger the review request, and it's all automated. And all those like questions, all those like requests can be in the review thing. And I will say one other thing. SMS, like a text-based request, has a much higher success rate than an email request. And that's because people's inboxes are absolutely flooded. And so a text message request is better. And that's part of our platform as well.
Exactly. So make sure you guys apply something like this. It doesn't have to be Whitespark, but it could be any type of software that really helps really like create
It
this.
should be Whitespark, though. Just,
Of course, of course, of course.
probably should be. Yeah.
Yeah, but basically that's the idea. Is behind that is to kind of make it super simple for your customers to leave reviews because it helps with everything. It helps with everything. Helps with your local SEO.
I would say reviews. People are asking me like, hey, I'm struggling to rank in local results. What should I do? And I'll be like, well, step 1, get more reviews. Step 2, get more reviews. Step 3, get more reviews. It's like so powerful because a lot of the stuff that we've already talked about is very foundational, right? You've set your primary category, you've added your additional categories, you've, built out the profile. That stuff is done. What is the ongoing stuff? What is the competitive differentiator? How do you, show Google you're alive and active in a great company? It is reviews.
88, according to research that I've found, 88% of consumers trust online reviews. So it's like the modern referrals. What about AI, ChatGPT, Gemini, these different platforms? What are you seeing in terms of, because Google is still king in terms of reviews. Do you recommend you're getting your clients and customers to start leaving reviews on Yelp and other channels as well, or just stick with Google? It just depends on the business size. What do you recommend in this situation?
I highly recommend diversifying your review requests. And my favorite way to do it is once someone has followed through and they've left you a review on Google, you hit them up again and be like, hey, thanks for that review on Google. Would you mind? It would be amazing if you also left us a review on Trusted Pros. Yelp, don't bother. Yelp is annoying. It's the absolute worst. If you ask for a review on Yelp, that review will never actually show up and never provide any benefit because you can only get a review on Yelp to stick if the person who left it they love Yelp for some reason. And they're always using Yelp. They're logging in. They're searching on Yelp. They're very active on Yelp. Then their review will stick. But if you just ask any random customer, will you leave me a review on Yelp? They'll be like, okay, I guess. And then they'll go to Yelp, make an account, leave a review, and then never even log into their account again. Guaranteed Yelp will filter that review out. So don't waste your time with Yelp. But Trusted Pros, any of the other industry specific sites, they are extremely valuable for AI search. And they're also valuable for regular Google search. Google is pulling reviews from other sites. They do impact your local pack rankings as well. And so it's actually a bit of a slept on strategy. So once you get Google is king, yes, get that Google review. It's going to be the most valuable thing you can get. But keep thinking about like how could we get some of these reviewers to also leave us a review on some of these industry specific sites.
In terms of importance, obviously Google's still number important. What would you recommend? Let's say top 5 in terms of like those like Google's number 1. What would you recommend the top 5 in terms of reviews?
It depends on your industry, and so I would look at if you just go like my business space reviews, then you're going to see the sites and the search results, and then do it for like the top 10 competitors in your industry. like, company name reviews, look and see what's coming up. Google is then pulling that tells you what are the important sites. If they're important to Google, they're probably the same ones that are getting picked up by ChatGPT. But let's just quickly talk about ChatGPT. ChatGPT is a tiny drop in the bucket. It is 2% of search volume. Have you not been ignoring Bing for the last 10 years? Yeah. Bing is 4 or 5%. Yeah. You've been ignoring Bing, so why are you worrying so much about this 2%? It is not worth a lot of effort to optimize for ChatGPT. Now, of course, it is worth thinking about the future of search. It is worth thinking about getting ahead of this. Like, what do I got to do for AI search? We know that Google stuff is probably going to change to all AI too, but Google is still king and Google will continue to be king. And so the interesting thing is actually 16% of search is AI overviews. That's the real AI that actually matters. It's the AI overviews. And we are now seeing local results getting pulled into AI overviews. So there is a little bit of changes, the foundation is still the same. It's your website, it's your Google Business Profile, it's your reviews, it's your citations. Those things are impacting everything. But a little bit of nuance is happening in those AI overview driven stuff. And the AI overviews is a hint about the future of AI driven search. And so thinking about that and optimizing a little bit for that and improving your strategy a little bit, that is a good thing to be thinking about now.
Yeah, and I'll give you an example, and you can probably relate to this. Companies are being summarized in AI overviews, like exactly what Darren was showing. It's also happening on the local level. And I'll give you an example. Somebody types in a company like RoofMax. They are being summarized on AI overviews. Even though they have 5,000 reviews, they have a 4.9 rating. A big thing that's affecting them is that sometimes the reviews, they're getting summarized and they're saying mixed. And that is a big thing. Like if you, Darren, if you had a brand like that, right? It's a bigger home service company. What would you recommend for fixing that? Because it really impacted. Because I spoke to the CEO last year about this. It really impacted their like click through rate. They really dropped them because even though they have a ton of positive reviews, their AI summary said mix, and that really hugely impacted their traffic on their website and their local results.
Well, I would look for negative reviews. Negative review takedown is valuable. So if you have negative reviews either on Google or any other platform, flagging them, reporting them, trying to get them off the internet, there is value in that work because of exactly what you said. The summaries will say, but some people complained that they were late or that they left the site a total mess. So whenever some people complain, and that's on the internet, if you could get those complaints removed, then the AI summaries would stop saying those things. And so there is value in that. There's great value in just being an excellent business and not messing around and doing a great job for your clients and your customers and leaving the site clean and not walking on people's floors with your dirty boots and doing all the things that people complain about. One of the greatest activities that a lot of people sleep on is you can ask an AI, you can build like a system that will gather all the negative reviews. So you collect them manually. Go to your competitors, collect their negative reviews, save them all into a document, and then give that document to an AI and say, give me the most common complaints that people are complaining about my industry. And you can use that in two ways. One, improve your business. Make sure you don't do any of those things. But two, talk about them on your website. You can put these little call outs on your service pages that are addressing that specific pain point. What are the pain points? And so you can pull those out of your competitors' reviews and then you specifically say them on your website. We always make sure to wear the foot covers when we come into your home. We are very diligent about maintaining the cleanliness of your home because it's a pain point that people have felt before, especially like, let's say, drain cleaning services where they haul in that gross thing that's like been down lots of people's drains. You should talk about what you do to address those pain points. It'll improve your conversion rates and get more people booking with you.
It's very important. And I think with what you just said in terms of the actual, quality of the work, quality of customer service, obviously it's kind of, you have to be, you have to do that before you enter. It's going to impact your reviews. But in terms of the actual, that's a great strategy, by the way. That's something that I don't think about. That I'll definitely start doing. And you could use that as content on your website, right? Content on your videos.
It's amazing. And in fact, then you can make short form videos about that. This is actually one of the things that is the most powerful. If you're forward thinking about AI, short form video is your friend. And so when you make AI video or if you make short form video content that addresses all the random questions people ever ask you in your business about this, that, or the other thing, common concerns, common concerns and questions, making short form videos about those is very powerful, and then you distribute them everywhere. This is you being ubiquitous. You're on YouTube Shorts, you're on Instagram, you're on your Facebook page, you're putting on your Google Business profile. People forget that this place exists. Put those videos on your Google Business profile, one into the videos section of your Google Business, and make Google posts about them. Getting that content out there is one of the most powerful things you can do to be forward thinking.
Yeah, and it's impacting AI. So what he's saying basically, this is what I tell my clients, is that instead of being a marketing company that sells plumbing, that's what kind of the mindset that I used to teach our clients, is that today, especially with AI, because AI has made it very easy to create content. So what you can do is, video content is still very valuable because it's hard to recreate that with AI unless you create an AI video, right?
Yeah, it's authentic. It's you on camera.
Exactly.
You have to get comfortable with just turning the camera on yourself and just saying some words and uploading it.
Yeah, exactly. So what that does is basically you build a brand, and what that would help you with AI search, actually, with what you're doing.
It'll help you with just straight up conversions. When humans see you, you have now built trust and affinity. Like a web page with text on it, you're like, oh, okay, I don't know about this business. But now you get to see the owner talking about roofs with a passion. Most of those contractors are pretty passionate about what they do and why they're the best, and they'll have no problem telling you at a party. You're at the backyard barbecue, they will absolutely tell you why they're the best roofer, why they do things better than the other roofers. Just put that on camera and tell the world. Don't just tell that guy at the barbecue.
What are some uncommon strategies that you see in work that people don't really know about local SEO?
Common strategies that work that people don't know about?
Yeah.
Content on your website. I think a lot of contractor websites are very thin on the content. And so the huge mistake is you just got one page for services, and then you kind of list the main services, and you don't really build it out. A lot of people built their website 5-10 years ago, and then they haven't really thought much about it since. So content freshness becomes very important too. So updating that content. And so I would say one of the greatest activities you can do is make sure that you have a page for every single service. And then I would go further and break it down into sub pages for multiple services. I actually just shared a tip today about navigation menu. So let's say, okay, great. You heard this advice a couple of years ago. You've already done it. You've got all these pages and sub pages for all your services. Then another mistake people will make is that they put them all into some mega drop-down menus. And then if your navigation is really complicated, then Google is like, well, if all these pages are of equal importance, then none of them are important. And so there is value in siloing your content. So instead of, you've got drain cleaning, you've got plumbing services, and then you got drain cleaning. Like everything that's under plumbing, you just have one page for plumbing in your menu. And then when you go to that then has the sub pages linked from it. That site architecture stuff is actually quite valuable. Oh, here's another one. I'll give you one more. It is internal linking. When you've created you've created all these pages, you've created a good site structure, now interlink all those pages really nicely in a logical way that they all kind of go back up, right? So your drain cleaning page needs to link back to the plumbing page. And then the plumbing page, of course, is going to link to the drain cleaning page. So you're just building out these content silos on your website, and you're doing it through page structure and through internal linking. Those are some things a lot of people are overlooking.
I also heard you in a podcast say that, and I've told clients this as well, is that asking for directions, right? Asking for directions for that. Can you talk about that strategy? Because people haven't heard that before.
Yeah, that's some hacky, awesome stuff. Everyone loves the story of Holly Starks, who put 100 cell phones in her car requested driver directions on all of them, and then drove to a business, and that business went number 1 in the rankings, thereby proving that driving directions to your location impact ranking. Now, in the service area business world, you don't really get a lot of people driving to your location. But there's a few things you could do. If you have your address showing, this only works if you have your address showing in your profile. 1, every time your dang employees come, they got to go into Google Maps, queue up the business, complete the drive. It only works if you complete the drive. Just requesting is not enough. So you got to complete the drive. So employees coming to the business every dang day, they left for lunch and then they came back, like let's say your receptionist or whatever. Damn driving directions every time. So that's it. That's one way to get it. If you actually do have customers coming to your location, when you know when they booked an appointment or they're coming, make sure you send them a text with the direct link to get the driving directions. I'll quickly tell you how to get that. Do a search for your brand name. On the right hand side, you're going to see the Google Knowledge panel. There's a button there that says directions. You want to click on that, which will take you to maps, and then that URL at the very top, that's your special link. That's called your driving directions link. You're going to use that link and send it to people in a text or an email. Be like, hey, your appointment reminder for tomorrow. Make sure here's the link for Google Maps driving directions. That will encourage just more people coming.
Awesome. One last thing before we head out. You mentioned earlier about take down reviews. Do you have any unique strategies about like taking down Google reviews? Have you heard anything about that? Like, what do you recommend in that situation?
So reviews can be removed from Google if they violate any of Google's policies. And Google has about like 7 or 8 of them, maybe 9 of them. They're specific things that Google's looking for. Foul language, off topic, they were a previous employee. Any of these things are like violations. Google's like, no, you shouldn't be leaving a review in these cases, right? So you have a negative review on your Google business profile, you can report it and you have to choose like, well, what's wrong with it? You have to tell Google what's wrong with it. Now, Steve Toth, one of my favorite SEOs, wrote a little custom GPT that you can feed the content of the review and it will tell you the most likely violation that you should report it as. And I will give you the link and you can put it in the show notes. It's a really great little thing. You just copy and paste the text of the review, put it in there, and that little thing will tell you, you should report this one as whatever for a higher chance of removal success. But I will say, if that doesn't work, do it again and pick a different one. And then do it again and pick a different one. Because sometimes Google you just hit the jackpot. Google's like, oh, okay, yeah, our automated system agrees with you that it is off topic, so we will remove it.
We've had clients, we help them sometimes remove some negative reviews. So that definitely does work. But GPT for sure, I'd love to look at that and can use it as a valuable information. Darren, where do people find you?
So definitely whitespark.ca. We have both software and services to help contractors with local SEO is what we do. We've been doing it for 20 years. We are actually one of the most recognized brands in the industry. And so we would love to work with you in our SEO services, where we would actually just be your agency of record and we would do all this stuff for you. Or if you're more of a do-it-yourselfer, you can check out our software. We recently launched our local ranking grid software, which I mentioned earlier, and it is phenomenal. It's the best tool on the market. Might be a little biased, but I think so. And so, yeah, check us out at whitespark.ca. And I'm also on all the social channels. You can follow my content on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I'm everywhere.
And I'll also put a link in the description to the actual report that he put together that is very valuable in terms of Google Business Profile rankings and also LSA ranking factors. It's also very valuable as well in the report too as well. So it's great information. People can use it. It's free. So you can review that and you can check your SEO company if they're actually doing that stuff. If they're not doing that stuff, then you can say, hey, why aren't you doing that stuff?
And I'm always shocked at how many SEO companies are not doing the stuff.
Yeah. But Darren, thank you for your time.
Thanks for having me, Mauricio. It was great chatting with you, and see ya.
Thanks for listening to AI and Marketing for Home Service Pros. If you got value from today's episode, do us a favor. Follow the show, share it with a contractor friend, and leave a quick review. Want help using AI or smarter marketing to grow your business? Head to contractormarketingpros.net and book your free strategy call.